What's going on, guys? It's Grant or G Miners. I'm going to be showing you how to do this on your stream with your alerts. These are basic built-in webcam alerts, but basic is really not the right word to use for them because they're pretty complex. They're kind of a pain in the ass to do. So yeah, these are some of the alerts that I've made. I'm going to show you everything that you need to do to make these. Additionally, if you find this video helpful, if you like any part of it or use any part of it whatsoever, please support the video. Please leave a like. Please comment with any questions you have. I have a Discord that you can join. You can find that in the description, on my Twitch channel, on my YouTube channel as links. But this took me a super long time to figure out how to do, and I wanted to kind of make a tutorial out of it so that other people didn't have to struggle with it. And then lastly, all the parts will be broken up under the slider below the YouTube video so that you can skip around to find whatever you need. And before I get into most parts of the video, I am just going to be going over kind of the logic and how everything flows and works together. So if you don't need that, again, just skip to the first part, which will be kind of doing stuff in Photoshop. Okay, guys, here I am inside of Streamlabs OBS. I'm going to be showing you real quick how everything kind of works. First, we're taking our layers. You see my webcam right here, the border. We're taking these layers, we're making them all in Photoshop, okay? We're also making these layers if I do a bits animation, just like that. Those layers I'm also making in Photoshop. They're just not included when I render out the base webcam border. We'll render them as their own individual WebM alerts with alpha backgrounds so that when you play the alert, different layers don't get cut out. There's just transparency going through them. That's a very important part. And then we're going to take those, and as you can see when I do my bits animation, the text fades in right about now. It's custom, it's my name, a certain amount of bits that are donated. We're going to be using HTML and CSS to properly align everything here, get it animated, make sure it has the proper text fields that dynamically change based on who's donating, who's subbing, who's interacting, or causing the alert. And then finally, I'm going to switch over to my in-game. The alignment is the crucial part here for getting everything to look smooth. We'll be doing, again, all of this perfectly aligned in Photoshop. I'll explain that when we get over to Photoshop. But right here, if I hide my animated webcam front, right here, if I toggle that, you can see that that is now gone. You can't see it, but you can still see my alerts. I decided to put my alerts behind my webcam. If you want to make your entire webcam change, let's say a different color for a second, right? It fades to a different color when you get an alert and then fades out, something like that. You can put these layers above your webcam. It is only really limited to your imagination and whatever you want to create. So just playing with the layers, you can get things perfect. And then lastly, what I do want to show you is if I select my animated webcam front, this is just my basic webcam, and then I switch to select this alert source, you'll see right here I'm switching what I'm selecting. But on OBS right here, you cannot physically see the border change dimensions. And that, again, is because everything is perfectly lined up and perfectly set in place. So again, that's a pretty crucial part. And just getting the alignment right. So that's the logic behind everything. So let's go and hop into Photoshop, and we'll start going through the order of how to get this thing made and implemented to your stream. Okay, like I said, here we are now in Photoshop. Right now what you guys are seeing, and you don't need to see the layers. Again, this is not a Photoshop tutorial, just going over some more logic and stuff on the Photoshop side. But what you see here is now my standard static webcam border. Okay, I've done a little animation in After Effects, which you might see pop up on the bottom here, which I added to my webcam for its animated base layer that you always see. You just saw the animation go right there. However, I do have every single layer here for the alerts, right? Here's my bit alert. Once again, it goes right there. If I want to show you that, I can toggle this bulb left, which is right here. And then if I come inside of here, I can toggle things like the bit logo that I've implemented and this bright blue layer right here, which kind of acts as like a light source that you see, again, cropping into place. And then if I come down here and I toggle on two more layers, these are the gears that you see and the pinion that you see come down, the gear and pinion system, or rack and pinion. And that's when I get stuff like donation like this. And again, you see that drop down. You hear the text to speech. It gives their name, all that. Everything is included in Photoshop. I just wanted to drive this point. Every layer that you're going to animate, put in Photoshop first. And then you're just going to make stuff appear in animations, put in what you need, what you don't need, you can leave out. And then the last thing, most important part, obviously, is all this lines up, okay? All this lines up in Photoshop in place perfectly. So when we make an animation, and let's just say we just want this bulb and this fiber right here, this glass lens or whatever you want to call it, we're just taking that. However, because it's already in this layer, it's going to be positioned properly relative to the 19 by 1080 base canvas resolution that I have set, okay? That hopefully makes sense. You just want everything in here. You want everything to make sense and be perfectly aligned and have the same base resolution, so that when you put these in, you toggle your alert box or your alert source to 1920 by 1080. You put your webcam in 1920 by 1080, center it on the screen, everything lines up perfectly, okay? By far the easiest way to do this is making everything in Photoshop, taking the PSD, over to After Effects, and animating everything there bit by bit. So now we're going over to After Effects, and I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like and some basic animations that I've used. Okay, now we're inside of After Effects. Again, not going to be going over stuff with incredible detail, just real quick, some basic stuff. You're going to see a blank screen instead of everything that you're seeing here. So real quick, you right click over in this box. It again will be blank. Import file, click a PSD, whatever you just made your webcam on. Click that, import as composition, retain layer sizes, create composition. You can click import. The two things you'll get are the webcam border layers right here, and then the webcam border itself right here. You can double click this border. This little logo right here shows that it's a composition. So we come down in here, we're inside the composition. And then what I do is anytime that I want to make another animation, I'm going to leave this main composition, the webcam border is what I called it. Webcam border I'm going to leave as its own. And you can see I made a bits animation, a follow animation, and this is my sub dono, raids, whatever, all that animation. So I have 3 different animations. To make a new one, you're just going to right click here, new composition, whatever you want to name it, just do that. Okay, now you have a new composition, and you can just click any of these files in here. This is just shift clicking, Control C and Control V. Boom, they're in here just like that. Very simple. We don't need that anymore. So yeah, the basic things that I have used for this, there's 2 basic things that I'm going to assume that most people are going to be using, which deals with hiding stuff and making them appear. These are non-basic ones. So if you could just want to make stuff fade in, you can use opacity. If you want to make stuff rotate in or slide in, or slide around, you can just use position and stuff. But if you want it to have a certain point where the object moves past and then it appears on this side, but it's always hidden on this side, I'm going to show you how to do that, or vice versa. If you want the object like this to appear, but you want it to be hidden and then kind of like have something pan across it and it slowly appear like that, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So the first thing is if you want to animate the layer so that the layer moves into a region, right? So real quick to show you guys that, what I have here is my pinions animation that slides into place, right? And as you can see, right here is the line. And as long as it is within this box, that's where this line appears. As long as it's within this box, it shows. This box stays still, right? And then I'm moving this pinion layer into the box for it to appear. So that's the first thing. That's using, what's it called? Shape layers. So what you'll do with the shape layer is make sure you're not selecting anything. You can just do layer, new shape layer, just like that. When you're creating a shape layer, it'll auto select the shape tool. You can hold click to get different shapes. I recommend just using the square because it's easiest. And then you can just draw your shape. So what I did was I drew this shape. I also used my webcam border to line stuff up and just kind of made this shape just barely inside of it so that my other animation would have to be in this to appear, right? So now you can see nothing happens, but if I hide this layer like that, this slides into place, right? In order to get this to work so that it slides into place properly, just like that, you will need your shape layer obviously in the right place, and then placing this shape layer above this animated moving layer, and then on the animated moving layer, selecting this right here under the track matte option, you can do alpha matte dark gray solid 1. Dark gray solid 1 is just the layer above it, or you can do alpha inverted. So alpha is just anytime your layer moves into this shape layer, it shows it. Inverted is anytime it moves into this shape layer, it hides it. and outside will always show it. So those are the two options. Again, this layer needs to be on top of this layer in order for this to work. And if you can't see the track matte option, just click toggle switches and modes, and you should be able to see it. Again, that is using, I guess, track mattes, alpha track mattes. You use this, once again, you use it when you need to take an object, slide it into a position, and only appear in that position, okay? The opposite is having a static layer and putting something to pan across it to make that come into frame. To do that, you'll be using masks. What you can do with masks, like I did in this animation here, was you can see my mask right here, right? It's just, again, a holographic or a transparent little frame or square, and you can see that I'm moving it. So what I do is I select this mask, put it on whatever layer I want to mask, and then what I'm going to do is just change the mask path. What I can do is move this mask around at different keyframes. So at this keyframe, I want it completely off. At this keyframe, I want it like as far up vertically as I can go, and then a little higher, right? I'm just changing it around. And what you're essentially doing with this mask path is as you change it and you have it on the setting that's add, okay? Add will make it, again, anything inside here becomes visible. Subtract is anything inside becomes not visible. There's also, if you need to invert it, you can do it like that. So anything outside, right? Stuff like that. That's what inverted does. But again, I'm just sliding this shape layer along, and it's slowly making this blue layer become visible. So that's that. Again, shape layer has a moving part, slide into it, and then a mask has a static image that you're putting the mask across to either hide it or make it appear. So those are the basic things that you're going to be using, I assume, for some simple animations. Anything more complex than that, just look up tutorials. Again, you'll probably want to look up tutorials for how to do half of this stuff if you don't know how to do it already. And yeah, so that's everything in After Effects. And now I'm going to show you exactly how to take what you've just made from Photoshop and just put it in After Effects and animated it. I'm going to show you now how to take this, make it into a WebM file with an alpha channel so that you can see everything transparent behind it. I will also note or want to make the disclaimer that, again, if you want to make a different animation, make a new composition, animate it in this one. Don't put everything inside the same thing because you'll just be mixing stuff and it'll be a shit show. So yeah. Okay, so next you're going to come to this website that I have right here. Link will be in the description. It is how to get the WebM plugin for the Adobe Media Encoder. You need this because Media Encoder doesn't come with WebMs, and you need WebM files to be able to put this in Streamlabs as an alert with a transparent background. So I have Windows, download for Windows, Mac. You can do Mac. If you have Linux, go to hell, I guess. Download this, saving it. I uninstalled it just so that I could show you what it was like for the install process, even though it's literally just clicking 2 buttons. So here we go. Next, sure, wherever it is, I'm just gonna let everyone who uses the computer access it, even though it's just me. And we're gonna start the installation. Wherever it goes, it'll still manage to find its way into the Adobe Media Encoder. We should be done. So I'm just gonna minimize this, and then I'm going to open up After Effects again. I closed After Effects, so again, I forgot to mention, but you want to close After Effects. I believe you need to do that to get it installed. I could be wrong. Even if you can get it installed, you need to restart it to update and whatever. So now we're here. Open this up. This will pop back up. I'm going to come back, open my animation. I'm just going to click this guy right here. This is my subdono animation. So I'm going to click right inside of the composition animation layer or box, and I'm going to hit composition, add to Adobe Media Encoder. You don't want to add to the render queue. Render queue is built in for After Effects. You want to do it through the Media Encoder because that's where we just installed the WebM. And eventually this will pop up, and you should be able to select WebM and export it. Okay, so here we go. H.264, this is a MP4 file. So we're going to click this. We're going to scroll down, and we're going to select Include Alpha Channel. Do not click Render Alpha Channel only. It's Include Alpha Channel. Additionally, you can find online a legit version of this guy right here from Adobe. It takes a little bit to install. It took me like 1 or 2 days. So I just went with this to get it immediately, and then I noticed that one plugged or popped in. However, it does change the settings that you can edit inside of here. So it'll give you this first video or image setting, but it won't give you the codec settings. And what you need is this include alpha channel for the codec settings in order to actually get the alpha channel behind here. So make sure you have this sketchier version because you need it for the actual alpha channel. If you do render alpha channel only, it just turns everything white. I don't even know what this does. Good shit, Adobe. So yep, do that, hit OK, just like that. You can select wherever you want it to go. I'm just gonna add some characters after this just because I already have one. We're gonna do that, and I'm going to encode it like that, and then I'm gonna show you the finished product just to show you that this does in fact work. And yeah, a media source, this includes WebM right here. Add source, we'll just add a new source just like that. Boom. We're going to loop it and then browse, and I need to select the proper file, which I'm doing right now. Where is it? Webcam border animations. So here's the one, just to show you with all the letters after it, to show you that this is the most recent one I've done. And we just hit done like this, and this is just going to loop. But as you can see, it's got an alpha channel behind it. If it didn't have an alpha channel behind it or a transparent channel behind it, my entire screen would be black right now. So you need to do this in order for stuff to work and to look good. Okay, guys, so now on to the final steps of getting your alerts set up. This is going to be how to code everything in Streamlabs. First, I'm just going to go over the basic settings to set for each one of these alerts in Streamlabs. So obviously you want your alert enabled right here. Also, if you don't know, again, you're just going up to the Streamlabs dashboard and you're going over to alert box right here. And I'm on merch right now. You can do this for literally any alert: follows, subs, donations, hosts, bits, whatever. Just make sure you're aware of which one you're on, depending on if you have different alerts set. So anyway, enabled, you want your layout to be the middle one. It should be defaulted to this first one. Go to the middle one. This is text over image. This helps with the sizing of everything. Right here, you'll have it on fade in. You're going to scroll this first one down to none. I leave the second one on fade out. I leave it on fade out because it seems to be less glitchy, less buggy. I've also seen on forums that leaving it on fade out using custom CSS makes things run a lot more consistently and smoothly. You can leave this right here. Editing it does nothing. Keep it on wiggle as well. Here you are going to upload the WebM alpha channel that you just exported. So I would upload mine. You just click here, you find the file, whatever. It'll upload like that, and then you're just going to click it. It might be hard to kind of see with the alpha channel. So this is mine. I hit select and I'm good to go. And I took off my audio just by hitting that little X down here. That appears when you have an audio file selected. So you can put custom audio in if you want or not. Down here, this is an important part. Hopefully you made your video in After Effects set to a specific second and not like a half second or anything like that. If you didn't, it's not a big deal. But my video is 10 seconds, or my alerts, all of these animations, they're 10 seconds long. So I'm going to set it to 9 seconds. And the reason for doing this, what makes sense to me is that, well, first off, if I had it on 10 seconds, it would start to loop again. So if I set it to 10 seconds, it would put the animation, it would go through, come out, go back up, and then start to come back out again. It would kind of start looping it again. And the reason for this is most programs recognize 0 as a number, right? So if you're doing something like an RNG and you want 50 numbers, the numbers are going to be 0 through 49, not 1 through 50. So I'm assuming Streamlabs recognizes 0 as a second. So anyway, long story short, just put it 1 second lower. Text alert delay, none. And then you're going to want to make sure you enable custom HTML and CSS. These are the settings that you're going to want for literally everything. The only thing that should change for anything is your sound and your video files, depending again on which alert you're on. So as you've seen on my stream, I have follows and bits with 2 different alert variations, and then subscriptions, donations, raids, hosts, all that stuff is all the same video file. Okay, so when it comes to HTML, real quick to run over stuff, this first part, you're going to want to keep this right here. This tag allows the image file that you put in. This is our WebM, our alert animation. It allows it to go through as the alert. That's the image reference right there. Keep that. Right here, down here, this is, if I play the donation right now, or the merch, what I just showed you, those 2 div tags, is all this text right here. So if we, again, come back here, we're going to comment this out. So commenting it out removes real code from a program and leaves it as just comments for humans who are editing the code to see. The machine that runs the code or compiles it, as it's called, won't actually use any of this code. So we're going to do a less than sign followed by an exclamation point and 2 dashes. As you see, that grays everything out. And then we're just going to come down here. I enter twice. You don't have to. It's just I like keeping the code neat. Dash dash greater than sign. Right here you can see a perfect example of how they're doing a comment. They start it over here. They end it over here. Anything in between is just for people editing the code to see. So we commented that out, and we're going to hit save. Always click save twice because the code doesn't always update first time. And when I test merch, you're not going to see that text over my face. There you go. You just see the animation. So we got rid of that. Now we are going to add our own text that we can kind of control. So we're going to create an H1 tag. This is a header 1 tag or a heading 1 tag. I will be using a good site to use is W3 Schools, W3 HTML. This has a ton of stuff. Headings is what I'm talking about. Headings are just different sizes. H1 tag is what we're going to be using. But as you can see, there's tons of stuff about HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which is like a web design thing, if you were curious. So I'll link this in the description, and I'll do the same with CSS. This is super useful if you just need to learn some basic functionality or syntax. Syntax being making sure the characters are in the right order and everything is good for the code itself. Okay, so creating an H1 tag to start it, we're going to do less than H1, just like that, and then we can close it. And as you see, it creates the closing bracket for us, and we're able to type between the two now. So right now, I'm just going to type the word name, and we put that between 2 of the curly braces. This will not appear as text. This is a reference, I guess, designator or something that contains a field. That field will be filled by the name of the person who is following, donating, giving bits, subscribing, whatever. That's what that curly brace word name between the curly braces, that's what that means. That's what it will get filled with. If you hit space here and then type ID equals, we're just going to give this a name, an identification that we can call upon later for CSS. This just makes it a little easier. So we're going to call it name because we're super fucking original. We're going to do another tag under here. Again, this is going to be an H1 tag. We can do that and close it. We're going to go up into here and hit ID, and we're going to name this product. I'm naming it product because I'm working on merch. If you're doing subs, I would recommend doing something like sub or message, or for bits, you could do amount. You know, there's tons of stuff you could do. For this, I'm just doing product, and I'm doing product because the actual reference designator for this is going to be product, or the field. I don't know if it's a reference designator, whatever. So that goes there. And we're good. So real quick, we're going to come down and save this, save it twice. And we're going to test merch, and right in front of my face, like right here, you're going to see 2 words. You're going to see the word probably John or some random name, and then they're going to buy some piece of clothing. There you go. John bought a t-shirt, just like that. So John and t-shirt doesn't give you a lot of what you want. So between this or before this, we're going to say John will be his name, and he'll say bought. And we'll just say, I think we could do amount. I'm going to see if amount works here. And we're going to hit save settings. It might work. It might not. Does it work? It looks like it does not work. So amount is not a field that you can use when doing merch. So we'll just say John bought t-shirt. There you go. It's good enough. I don't really use merch on Streamlabs, so you can probably figure out other fields to add. We could try amount, actually. We tried amount. I'm an idiot. Okay. So there goes that. What am I doing? There. Okay. That's perfect. We have it exactly where it wants to be. I'm going to real quickly run over other stuff that you might want as your designators, or the things that get filled with fields. So that's for merch. Most people don't use that. I just didn't have it set up, so I wanted to go over it. Follows, if we come down to here, I just use their name. You can, again, add blank and then type has followed. That doesn't really fit my theme. I'm trying to fit it in a small box. As you can see, I'll play my follow once again. where is it? Is it right up here? Yeah, right up here. I just want their name because it's a tiny box. So that's all I have there. If we come over to subscriptions, some cool stuff is, again, I have their name. I did subscribed for months is the field that you can put. It is only a field that represents a number. So again, when I do my subscription right here, the field that's curly brace, months, curly brace is just 1. That's the number 1. It just gets filled up with a number. That's why I add the word months after it inside of my code. And if you're wondering what this is right here, this is a break line. So if I were to cut this break line out, what you'll now see when I save my settings here and run my donation.
This is a test donation for 12.
Sorry, my subscription is that it's all extremely smushed, okay? So if I put this break back in and save settings, you will see the word subscription will pop up above those other words because a break line is just a way to do a return or an enter in HTML. So now we're back. Okay, looks clean. That's that. Again, months is your field for that. You can look up some other things and find them just by Googling around for different fields that you can fill, but months and name are pretty much the only two you'll be using for subs. Donation, you can actually use amount. Again, here I use a break line. Donation.
This is a test donation for $46.
There you go. You see the word donated, enters under it, and then puts the amount just like that. The cool thing about amount is it comes with the money sign, that character in front of it, so you don't need to add one when you're dealing at least with donations because they're in dollars. And then in hosts, you have count. Count is for viewers, for raids and hosts, so there's count for that. And then last but not least, there should be, I think, amount for bits. There you go, amount. I added a little X right here. If I test my bits, right before my bits, you can see my name. Underneath, there's an X just to kind of represent multiplied by however many amounts that they donated. You can do whatever you want to spice stuff up. That is pretty much it. So yeah. Okay, guys, this is now the final part for making your custom alerts. This is the CSS part. This is the hardest part, but we're going to get through it. So once again, I'm on merch back here. We're going to go over to CSS, and as you can see, I deleted everything. Whatever you have, delete it. Get it out of there. Their stock code for this is trash. Not worth doing, or not worth using, or trying to edit whatsoever. So first things first is we're going to try and get you a custom font that you're going to want to use. There's a couple things that you can do. First things first, I'm going to link you to this site right here. Again, W3 Schools has some very basic coding instructions and examples. You can come up to font family and see how to use any of the basic font families that are accepted on, I guess, most stock computers, like Windows stock fonts, stuff that you see on Word. You can use these on Streamlabs as well. They're not that cool, so you probably don't want to use that. So if you don't want to use that, you can go over to Google Fonts. You can read all about how to use Google Fonts, but ultimately what it comes down to is linking this style sheet and then putting in this reference right here. This is your Google Fonts. Okay, the font family is Sophia. And then eventually when you come down, you can just write the simple line, font family Sophia. This right here is linking the font family, and this right here is calling it and putting it into your body. We'll use that to put it directly into like H1 tags or stuff, but again, that's essentially what it entails. And then if you click this link right here, you can see all the Google fonts. I guess there's 999, 1,000 of them. You can use whatever you want. Might be a little laggy when you load it. You can search for specific fonts if you want to do that. And then I have this open, but I'll close this just to show you how to get here, just in case you missed it. But let's find a weird looking font. Sorry, it's really laggy, this site. So let's say this one right here. We want this font. We can just hit try it. It opens this in a whole new tab, and then you can literally copy this line, put it into the top of your HTML. Okay, copy, just like that. You're going to come over to this. You can put it into the top of your HTML. Okay, anytime it has a link like this, right between two of those carets like that, or the greater than less than sign, it's HTML, okay? So we can put it there. That's how you do that. And then eventually, this stuff between curly braces, which we'll use later, I know we used it in HTML, but it's not the main basis for HTML. It's the main basis for CSS. So this actually, right here, this body, and with the curly braces, is calling upon CSS, Cascade Style Sheet. So that's what that's using. And yeah, so you will call to use the font family within the CSS. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Lastly, if you do not want to use either of these fonts, because again, they can be basic and bland, you can go to a site called Dafont.com. It's just going to take me somewhere random. Whatever. We come to Dafont right here, and you can browse probably, 50,000 fonts. Super dope fonts. I got my font that I'm using off of Dafont.com for like all of my overlays. Really cool. I will say some of them are free, some of them are not. One way you can filter, let's just go to cartoon. You can come over to more options. There's 100% free, and there's free for personal use. If you're small, you're making this for your stream, it should fall under the category of personal use. But if you're doing this for some odd reason and you're using this video to make it for a company, don't be a dumbass. Use 100% free. All right. So that's that. Find whatever you want. Let's just say I like this. Okay. Actually, yeah, whatever. This is fine. You're just going to hit download. Free for personal use. I'm just going to hit download. Okay. When I download it like this, I'm going to get a zip file. Okay. I'm going to hit save. Good enough. And we're going to open a new File Explorer window. We're going to go like this. We're going to come into downloads. My downloads is a mess. We're going to come into here, and you're going to see a TTF file. First off, just if you want, you can hit install. This will put it on your computer as fonts. This looks like a terrible font, by the way, because you can see it doesn't alter every single letter. It looks like it might just alter the capital letters. So just know that some fonts are only capitals, but either way, now that you have that, you're going to want to put this in a folder somewhere. I have a stream folder, nice Vin Diesel picture, stream overlays like right here, and then I think I have text. So I have my TTFs in here. My font's called a Nixie, so I have it right there, somewhere I can reference, okay? Last part of this for using custom fonts is coming to Transfonter. Again, link in the description. This will be linked in the description for HTML. Same for CSS, Google Fonts, every standard font. Dafont will be linked, and Transfonter will be linked, okay? All you're going to do is click Add Fonts. You're going to come, you're going to find your font. You're going to use the TTF version. If you only get an OTF version, I don't think this will work. If you have another site that you find you like a font on, and you can get a WAF or a WAF2, you can use it, okay? And it actually looks like it accepts OTF files, so you could use it. I would just go with the TTF. I put this in, and we're going to do base 64 encoding, embed font for CSS. That's literally what it does. We're going to click on, we're going to click TTF. We're going to get rid of WAF and WAF2 because we don't need them. If you have everything selected, it's just going to give you way more code that you can copy, and we're just going to hit convert, just like that. So you can preview your font just like that. You can use this CSS if you want. This just changed font style, weight family. It's not really worth it. What I do is click download. This will give you another zip folder. Okay, we're going to come back, open a new File Explorer window. We're going to go once again back into downloads, come all the way to bottom, and now we have Transfonter, and all you need is the style sheet CSS. You're going to open this up. You have a ton of code, and you're just going to take this. You're going to copy all this code. It's a lot, and you're going to copy it all the way down to here, just like that. You can come in here, right click, select all. You're going to Control C. We don't need this anymore. We can close that out, minimize that. We're going to go finally back to our code, Control V, and we have a nice simple font that we can use. Okay. Right off the bat, though, it looks like font display doesn't work in CSS. So anything that's red like that, get rid of. And then honestly, for font style and font weight, you can get rid of them, but they're just set to normal, so they're not going to affect how the font actually looks. And so right now, all we have done is we've put the basic code in for you to allow you to use your font. So now we can call upon this, and we can use your font whenever the hell we want to. Okay, so that's your font. I'll show you how to call it when we get to making and editing the CSS for the H1 tags. But as of now, your font's in, your font's good. Make sure you import your font properly. Troubleshoot it if you can. You can ask me, once again, questions in Discord and comments. And yeah, so that's that. Okay, guys, I'm back. This is my second day making the video. But as we just did, we just imported our text. We haven't utilized it yet. So again, your text is not going to pop up yet. We just added the, I guess, function, if you want to call it, into the CSS. What we're going to do next is call upon one of the HTML div tags. It's this alert text tag right here. I'm just going to Control C this. For this tag and any other tag that you don't add yourself, do not change the names. The only names you want to change, again, are just anything that you add. That's why we gave our H1 tags their own name. So we're going to take that, we're going to bring it over to CSS, and we're going to do the pound or hashtag, and then we're going to do Control V or write out alert dash text. I just hit enter like this, open my curly braces, hit enter again, and we're ready to start typing some basic code. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually call upon the font family. So we're going to do font dash family, and I'm going to name mine Anixie. I name it Anixie because Anixie is the name of the font that got imported when we used our online font face generator converter. Okay, so we have Anixie as our name. If you want to change it, you can change it here. Just make sure that this word and this word are character for character the same. So that's our font family. We're also going to change the font dash size right here. And I'm going to just make it 18 pixels. And that should be good. You want to also make sure you're following the same syntax that I'm following. You should have these dashes here. You should have these are the colons right here. And then these are our semicolons. Ending statements off with semicolons is super important. If you don't do that, it might not recognize it as actual CSS. So we're going to hit save settings right here. And I move my camera down, but we're going to test our merch now. And we should see that the text is different font. And so just like that, you can see that it is a different font. And one more thing that I am going to do just right off the bat is I'm going to type out color, colon, space, out. And I'm just going to type white. And it should recognize this as a basic font color. So we're going to do that, test merch. And there we go. It's white. I will show you how to do hexadecimal color codes if you know what that is, but we'll do that in a second here. Okay, so again, right now we just altered the div tag right here. What is inside of our div tag are all of these or both of these H1 tags, right? Our div tag starts here and it ends right here. So all this code inside these H1 tags, they're inside the div tag. So anything we do to the div tag or the hashtag or pound alert text over here, it's going to affect those words, okay? So now we're going to go in and individually alter these guys. So to do that, same exact process. This is why we gave them IDs so we could easily call upon them. We're just going to do pound, and I think my first one is name. So I'm just going to type pound name, enter. I can open this up, enter again, and now we are ready to edit it. So I'm going to type in what I have for my name file or my name requirements here. And to start, I'm going to call upon a color for the top text or the name text. So I'm using a hexadecimal color code. I'll show you how to use these in a second if you're unaware. But mine is 0AF, 0F3. And then I'm going to do semicolon. And if I hit save settings, I don't know if this will update and change it to my color, but we're going to test it right now. And it does. Okay, so right here, when we change our color in here, even though we had already specified it as white, when we come into the actual tag itself, it will override this white color. So that's perfect. Real quick, if you need to use hexadecimal color codes, you can come over to anywhere on these H3 sites. Just like right here, there's color picker here. This is another HTML color picker. You can just click this wherever you find it. You can click use HTML5. This just gives you more accuracy. And then let's say we like this color red. We can click out, and then you come down here, and now it updated. So this is what you will use. You can copy this, and it will change your text over here. And again, you just need to copy and paste it. Hashtag or pound, whatever the letters and number system are, and you get your color. So I'm going back to my color, which is 0AF0F3. So that's very simple. That's hexadecimal color. If you didn't understand what I said there, you can look up how to use hex codes. So next, this part gets a little bit tricky, okay? This is going to be all about positioning your text. This is the most important part. This is probably the hardest part. So I'm going to try and explain it as simply as I can and hopefully as easily as I can. So let's get into that. I'm going to write 3 lines and explain them after. So first is position. I'm going to do fixed. This is crazy what this does. It fixes the text position. Crazy, right? All right, so that's position. Then we're going to do right. And we're going to type, we'll just type something random, 500. What this represents is how many pixels off of the right side of the screen we are going to be. And then same thing for bottom. We're going to do 20, okay? You can position these using right and bottom, left and top, right and top, wherever you want to use to position them. I just use right and bottom. It works best for me. And then we're going to save our settings, and we are going to probably real quick go back somewhere, and I am going to show you with a bigger version of my webcam. So let's go here. So here's the chatting screen. You can't see my code, but I saved my settings, and I'm going to test my merge, and you should be able to see my text closer to the bottom right-hand side of my webcam. So there you go. There is John. As you can see, with 500 pixels, what it does is it takes the word John and it moves it 500 pixels from the right-hand margin of my webcam. The right-hand margin is right over here. So it's going to be 500 pixels away from the farthest side of my webcam, okay? It's not from the entire length of the side of my screen. It's going to be 500 pixels away from the edge of my webcam. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We're gonna go back to this scene right here. So 500 pixels, as you saw, is not exactly where I want it. Again, test merge. It's just in a random ass place. What I want is for it to be on the left-hand side of that bottom thing that drops down. So if you divide that thing by the logo that I have on my webcam border in the middle, I want it on the left-hand side of that, okay? So what I found works best for me is about 75 pixels. And I'm going to save settings. Sorry, my overlay switch, I keep forgetting that I have hotkey set. Okay, so now I save settings. If I test merge, if I save it again and test merge, now you see that John moved over, okay? So right now we're just editing the name field, which is John. Before we try and make it perfect, I'm going to add one more field to the text. So I'm going to enter twice down here, and we're going to add a width field, okay? This is when things can get a little weird and not make sense if you're trying to play with all 3 things at the same time. So I'm going to try and explain it. Width for me, I'm going to just set to 100 pixels just to start, okay? If I change this up to 350 pixels and hit test merge, now John moved over. So as you can see, it was at 100, it didn't move. When you're at a higher width and you combine that with positioning from right to left, at least width goes along with your right left. If you add a height, that'll end up going along with the top bottom margins and stuff. But so when we're controlling our width, what we're trying to do is essentially say we have text and we only want it to fit within this width box, right? But the way the width works and how it's aligned, it will change the position of the text as you increase the width. And that's because by default, it's center aligned. So if you increase the width of the box, the text is going to be constantly changing its center. And if the text is aligned to the center, you know, as that center point changes, it moves farther and farther over. So what you can do to perfectly figure out your width is first do text dash align, and we're going to type the word right, okay? I'm typing the word right because I am aligning to the right. If you decide to align to the left, you want to start with text align left, okay? We're going to save settings, and what you'll see is that John should be all the way hugging right under on the left-hand side of the middle of my webcam. Right there. You can see if you divide it right in the middle, John is hugging the middle on the left-hand side. It's actually this side. So that's where the text is. So that's perfect, okay? Now, just for kicks, I'm going to say that my width was set to 500 pixels, and I'm trying to find, or 550. I'm trying to find the best width that I can, okay? The perfect width. So when I line to the right, what I'm basically saying is how far over my right margin for my width is going to be. That margin will never change. So when I test John and I'm at 975 pixels, my text will never ever go more right than the letter N in John, okay? So I know I'm set on the right-hand side, and now I'm going to text align to the left. I'm going to save my settings, and I'm going to hit test merge. And as you can see, John is now way far over to the left, okay? 550 pixels is way too far over. Because also we are aligned to the left, that means the letter J, just left of it, is how far our width box goes out to the left, okay? So I found that around 350 pixels worked perfectly for my width that I'm trying to accomplish here. It's going to probably be different for you. I'm going to hit save settings, okay? And I'm going to test merge. And now you see that the J is aligned as far left as I'd ever want it, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Additionally, or finally, I'll rather say, we're going to change the text align from left to center. This will just always center your text. I'm doing this at the end once I figured out that I know my position is perfect and my width is perfect. Okay, I know that they coincide, they work together to accomplish exactly what I want. Okay, I'm hoping that I explained this in the best way possible. If you have any questions, again, hit me up in the comments of the YouTube video. Discord is a great place to reach out. I'm happy to help anyone and explain it with greater detail. So now that we've done that, our text field is almost perfect for this. However, if somebody has a really long name, I want to be able to cut it off, okay? And to do that, I'm just going to write 3 simple lines of code, which is going to allow us to take really long names, something that's 150 characters, and just shrink it down so it still fits within our width. So what we're going to do is type white dash space colon no wrap semicolon. Enter. Overflow colon space hidden semicolon. And then lastly, text dash overflow colon it's either ellipses or ellipsis semicolon. Okay, you're not going to be able to see it here, but if I test my donations with somebody who donated with a long name or a subscription rather, you're going to see this name. It's Remington Rifles. It gets shrunk down to Remington RI or something along those lines. And there you go. What I've done is I've made it so that it cuts the text off and just adds those ... so that you can see that their name's not just Remington RFL or whatever. So that will work for any name that is super, super long. And we are essentially now done with the name field. Okay, again, that's assuming you got your positioning right and you got your width right. Okay, now that we're done with name, we're going to go on to the final field, and that is going to be pound. And I think I named it for me product. For other fields or other alerts, I named it things like months and subs and amount and stuff like that. So now that we are in here, we are going to do something very, very similar to what we've done up there. My text is already white. However, if you want a different text, you can still override it in here. I'm just going to do it for the sake of writing it. So I'm going to do color. I'm going to do hashtag or pound, and then I'm going to do just 6 Fs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Fs is the highest number that you can represent with hexadecimal, and that's represented as white. If you do all zeros, that's default black. So if you're going to use either of those, there you go. So we're good on that front. Real quick, I'm going to just copy and paste my position fields right like that. So I have it fixed and I have it in the exact same position, which is not great, but you will see that now these two texts should be somewhat overlapping. So there we go. They're somewhat overlapping, and we want to fix that. So I think that a good field for me is something like 610. Again, I apologize for changing my overlays. There we go, 610. I'm going to save settings here, and I'm going to test it. And as you can see, it moved over right to around where I want it. Now, in my opinion, I think that bought and then t-shirt is super long. So I'm going to come back to HTML and I'm going to add a break tag like this. I've already explained the break tags. Again, it's just a break line tag. It's just how you enter or return. We're going to save settings. Just adding that tag will simply add a little enter like that. So that's perfect. Now with the break tag, it looks like it's a little bit too high. So I'm going to align the text 0 pixels from the bottom. This is actually not going to make it hug the bottom, as you see. It barely moves it down. So if you need things even lower, you can go into negative fields. Just to show that, I'm going to do negative like 30 and hope that this doesn't push it all the way down. But there, as you can see, it still moves it down. So if you're finding that you need to go lower or to the right more or whatever, you can use negative fields to really fine tune stuff. We're going to go back to 0. And call it a day with that. We'll test this one more time. Save it again. Test it now. And there we go. So we're good. I think that's good enough for me. The only other thing that I'm going to do is add some width fields and things of that nature. So yeah, we're going to add, again, the width field. Width is going to be the same thing on both sides. I want 350 pixels, just like that. And then I'm going to come under here, and again, I'm just going to copy the overflow text right here. Again, what this does is makes it so it'll cut the text off if it's super, super long. We're going to hit save settings, and this is probably going to push my text out to the left a bit. Exactly. So again, I'm going to come up here and just do align, text dash align. And I'm going to start with the right, because again, I'm aligning things from the right using this field on line 36. So align it to the right, and I'm going to see exactly where 610 puts it. Test merge. 610 puts it right there. I could probably go 600, but 610 is good enough for me. I'm going to go and align to the left now and see how far that pushes it to the left. How far, in other words, my left width box goes to. And that goes a little bit too far maybe. So I'm going to maybe change this down to like 300 pixels, something like that. Save settings, just like this. Test my merch. Oh, go back. It actually looks good. And then I'm just going to align to the center. So the left field we just showed was good. And now finally we'll align it to the center. And there we go. We're good. That's good enough for me. I will note that on product, you don't really have to, or this second field, you don't always have to change things. So for example, for my donations, if I test a donation.
This is a test donation for $64.
It will never, that donation word is static. It won't change. The only thing that changes is how much somebody donates. And the only reason that that field, for example, would ever go out of bounds is if some dude donated like $1 trillion, which will never happen. So you can think about stuff like that and just say, again, donations. If I test my donations.
This is a test donation for $99. This is a test donation.
Streamlabs is lagging. Okay, so just like that. Again, you're never going to run out of room for that. So for certain ones, you don't have to add specific things. Okay, we are now almost done. This part's been, I think, 20 minutes already. So I apologize. I might make this into its own video. We will see. But I'm going to come down here and I'm going to show you the very final part, which again, if I test my merch right now or whatever you're using, this kind of looks terrible, right? The text pops in and then it slides out. So I'm going to show you how to animate it, explain animations in a very basic term or basic method. And you can try and go wild with it if you want. It's your call. So we are going to create an animation function. I'm going to hit enter, get some more space down here. And we're going to type the following thing. Okay, we're going to do @keyframes. And then we're going to give it a name. So what this does is it slides the text down. So I'm just going to do slide down, just like that. I would always leave this first letter lowercase. Other letters you can put capitalized. In certain programs, again, I'm not familiar enough with CSS, but in certain programs, you can't capitalize the first letter of certain functions. So seeing that I've only seen lowercase letters for the first letter for functions, I would say just make sure this letter is lowercase, okay? Also, don't throw weird characters in there. You can throw numbers in there. You can throw dashes in there. But any other weird characters, I would say leave out. So we are going to open this up and give ourselves, we'll just give ourselves some space like this. Okay, so the way keyframes work is you create a function. You're going to create a function that says or sets different keyframes, kind of like you're doing in After Effects or in Photoshop. And what you're doing is saying at this percentage or at this certain point, I want the animation to be here. So what we're going to say is at 0%, I want it here. At this percent, I want it here. And at this percent, I want it here. And we can get it to slide in and then slide out. And the function will do something called interpolation to get every single keyframe in between the keyframes that we set. So what I'm going to do is first start off by 0%. We're going to open our function like this. Just get some space here. We're going to type transform space translate. And I'm going to open a set of parentheses like that. And I'm going to define it to be 0 pixels by negative 100 pixels. And we're going to see what this looks like. And then lastly, we're going to put a semicolon here and then call a function which is just going to make things look a little nicer, which is animation, if I spell it right, animation dash timing dash function. This is a regular colon space, and we're going to do ease dash in dash out, and we're good here. We can put a semicolon here, and we're good. So that is right now 0%. You will also 100% want the 100% one. So make sure you have these for both or any keyframes that you use. So we're going to do that, and we are going to just copy this and put it down here. So right now we're literally doing nothing. We're telling the function at 0% we want it here, at 100% we want it at the same place. There's no movement in between. So when it interpolates and finds all of our data, it's going to literally have our text sit still. Okay. So first, actually, you need to call the function. So I'm going to show you how to call the function. That's why when I tested the donation, it didn't work. We're going to come back up again to the div tag so that this function applies to both H1 tags. We're going to do animation, do that. We're going to state its name. We're doing slide down like that. And then we're going to hit space. And my animation is around 10 seconds long for my alert that I made in After Effects. So I put it at 10 seconds and then semicolon. So right now, what you should see is no text or maybe just a little bit of text, but I'm ultimately trying to hide it behind this bottom border where you see the moving text right now in the stream labels. So if I do that in test merge, perfect. My text hides perfectly behind this text right here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is add fields to get it to slide down. So I have percentages here that I use. So 6% works for me. And we are going to Control V this. And then I'm going to change this to 0 pixels right here. Okay. And then 1 or 2 more, I have 70% set. So we're going to add that. We're going to do Control V. I still want it at this 0 pixel range. And then I have 90% set. And I'm going to Control V, and now we want it back at that 100 pixel range. So if I do this and play this, it should look pretty good. I know I haven't explained 100% how the pixels work, so I'll explain that in a second here. I'm just going to hit Save Settings and show you what you can do. So if I test merge, you should see the text slide pretty consistently with the animation behind it. Boom, just like that. We're just going to watch at the end of the animation, it's going to slide all the way back up. And we're good. Okay. So a couple things. One, this is your X dimension. As you can see, it's 0 pixels the entire time. What this transform does will take the position that we have here, right? So the position that we have for this text is right 975, bottom 20. For this text, it's right 610, bottom 0. It will take that and translate it. Translate it means to move. If you're unfamiliar with that, to move XYZ, it's one of the 3 ways that you can move out of 6. The other 6 would be obviously rotating, and this is along XYZ axes. So again, we're not moving it any way in the X direction. X, again, that's horizontal, so side to side. We do move it vertically. So I found that negative 100 pixels was perfect so that my text would hide right behind my text that you see, or the bottom layer of my webcam right here, where you can see this moving text with the stream labels. That text fits right behind there if I set it to negative 100 pixels, okay? Then at 6%, I found that this is the perfect time. I found this just by playing with percentages, okay? If I made it 7%, the animation came down faster than the text came down. If I made it 5%, the text came down faster, right? So it's just a matter of playing. And again, I wanted it to now go to the location 0, 0. This will set it to its default position that you have set, okay? These values only change or alter the position values, okay? They are not true values, okay? True values being, it doesn't completely override your position values where it says, oh, your position is, 9, 10 from the left and 20 up. Well, we're just going to change it to 0, negative 100. That's not what it's doing. It is taking those values and adding or subtracting pixels to them to get it to move. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? What I'm doing here, where you see two of the same things in a row, it's because, again, does something called interpolation, right? So it creates all these data points in between stuff. So from 0% to 6%, it's going to slowly and linearly make an ease function where it slides the text down, because I've set it to go from negative 100 pixels to 0 pixels in 6% of the duration of the transformation, okay? I put this next one at 70 because I want it to sit still from 6% to 70%. So these are the exact same translation values right here that you see, okay? These values here are these values here. That's because, again, I just want it to sit still. And then the same thing applies from 90 to 100. I want it from 70% to 90%. That's when I want it to start going up. It takes about 20% to match the exact same speed that I've set in my animation. So that's why I set those values to them. And then I lastly left the 100% here because, again, if you don't have this, your text will just pop back out. You want it to finish the animation wherever your last value is set, okay? Hopefully all of that makes sense. And yeah, so again, lastly, if I set this to, let's say 5 seconds, right? If I set this to 5 seconds, you're gonna see my text come out really fast, and then like halfway through my After Effects alert animation, the text is just gonna fly up. So save that once, save that twice. So here you go, the text flies out way too fast, and about now it goes up, just like that. And as you can see, it just popped right back out because that's how much we've set for the animation. That's why you want to make sure that your timing is linked up with the actual physical animation. And that is why I have this last bit here, because if I didn't, the text would just pop back out. Okay, hopefully all of that makes sense. The one question you might be asking, however, is, Grant, what happens if I don't have text or something to hide my text behind like you do? Well, you can do an opacity function as well. So at 0%, it looks like we have transform, translate. I believe we should be able to add opacity, semicolon. We can do 0%, or just the number 0 rather. You don't put the percentage sign, but it represents 0%. Opacity 0%. If I want it to be here, let's just say we put our opacity to like 10%, just to show you that opacity should work. With this opacity, we'll just do 0.1 for 10%. We're going to save settings, and hopefully as my text slides out, it's going to go from completely invisible to like barely visible if we've done things properly. And there you go. So if you can't hide your text behind stuff, you can use opacity. It looks like it is still gaining opacity, but again, you can put things in here like this, opacity 0.1, just like that, and that should keep the opacity the same. If you want to, obviously not have your opacity fade in anymore, and just like that, it stays faded. And again, you can apply the same exact logic that your text fades out, okay? You can do whatever you want with these animations. I'm going to real quick find the site that has all of these animations for you, and what we can do is then just look up any animation that we can use within CSS, and you can, oh, here it is. You can utilize it. So W3 Animations. As you can see, this CSS is moving. Again, you're calling at keyframes. I'll have this linked in the description, this page right here, but at keyframes, animation name, animation duration. we use the animation name and duration in the same field. That's what you saw right here. If we scroll up, this is our animation name duration. You can break it up into 2 lines if you want. It's your call. And then if you come down here somewhere, you should see some fields that you can use. If you guys are having issues with your transformations, CSS within Streamlabs is not full CSS, to the best of my knowledge. I have one animation and called this animation right here. It does not seem, to my knowledge, that you can use multiple animations unless you're using a built-in plugin and calling that plugin within HTML. I'm not going to go over how to do that. That's higher level stuff. That should work. But again, you can only use one animation. You can only call this animation once as well. If I were to cut this and paste it down here, and also down here under these lines, right? If I were to paste them within our H1 tags individually, they would still work, but then something happens and it crashes the CSS. So this happened to me. It took me a while to figure out what was happening. I wanted to animate stuff in 2 different speeds. You can't do that unless you, again, use a plugin, which is a whole nother realm of HTML and CSS. So yeah, keep your animation, make sure that it's up here in the div tag, make sure that you're animating stuff within the same field, okay? Hopefully that's simple enough for anybody to do, and just let me know. Again, Discord, comments, whatever questions you have, I'm super happy to answer them. I know this is a long and kind of rigorous process, so anything I can do to make it easier for you guys, let me know. And with that said, have a good one.